everything you have today in River State were all people who were under the Igbo Aro Confederacy that lasted from 1640 to 1900. The only people in today's River State that were not part of the Aro Confederacy are the Ogoni. The rest of them, everybody, are Igbo.
Why do some Igbos in Nigeria today deny holistically that they are not Igbos? Now, you are going to watch this very particular video, and this is going to explain to you the reason the likes of Nyesom Wike today will be like, no, I am not Igbo, I am Ikwere. Or reason behind some people from Ibibios, Anioma them, are denying, no, we are not Igbos. And if you want to get this very historical fact correctly, you should watch this very video to the end. Then I would explain to you the dots connecting this whole denial of Igbo identity.
So the idea of telling me, who was born in Diobu, who grew up around Port Harcourt, trekking from Diobu to Nembe Waterside, from Nembe Waterside to Rumumasi, where my sister got married, that I should deny my heritage, that's nonsense. But of course, there are Igbos willing to deny their heritage. You can see it. And that's why you say, when those things happen, what is it? Is the Nigerian state putting pressure on them? Port Harcourt was renamed in 1913. The real name of that place is Iguacha. Iguacha, it means in Igbo, White Hill. It was renamed in 1913 to honor Lord Vernon Harcourt, who at that time was Secretary of the Colonies in the British government. Because Port Harcourt was being used as a staging post to export the coal that Daddy Anioma was bringing from the mines in Enugu. And that's what it is. So whether you want to deny who you are or not, I see myself as a rivers man. Me and Wike, we are Aro Ikwere. It was the Aro that were there, the Aro Confederacy. That's what it is. So if you now want me to deny my heritage because you want me to gain acceptance, I would not agree.
I will tell you a story that you should really not be hasty to forget. I mean, why some people of Igbo ancestry no longer identify themselves as the Igbos. A story of war, survival, memory, and identity. Imagine waking up one morning to discover that the name your ancestors proudly carried has suddenly become dangerous for your family, for your existence, for your survival, for your living. Imagine hearing that speaking your language in public could attract suspicion. Imagine watching your father disappear, your mother flee into the forest without nothing but the clothes on her neck, and your village reduced to ashes. Now imagine surviving all of that. Years later, when people ask, are you Igbo? Would you answer proudly? Or would you hesitate to answer? That hesitation is a part of history many people outside Nigeria have never truly understood. This is not merely a story about ethnicity. It is a story about survival. It is a story about fear. It is a story about trauma that has quietly shaped identities for almost 60 years and still counting. To understand why some people today distance themselves from being identified as Igbo, even though they are Igbo, we must travel back to one of the darkest chapters in African history, the Nigerian Civil War. Now, before the Civil War, long before Nigeria became an independent country in 1960, the peoples of today's Southeast and surrounding regions shared some sort of century of interactions. Trade routes connected communities, families, intermarried, market flourished. Many communities spoke mutually intelligible dialects. Cultural festivals looked remarkably similar. Traditional titles, ancestral worship, masquerading, farming practices, music, folklore, and naming customs overlapped across vast areas of this very olden eastern region. Now, identity was often local before it was ethnic. Someone might identify first with their village, then clan, then kingdom. Modern ethnic labels became more politically significant during colonial rule. Communities such as Ikwere, Eka, Ukwani, Anioma groups, Ndomi, part of Eche, Oba, and others have long had complex historical relationship with the wider Igbo cultural world. Scholars have also debated these identities for decades. Some communities strongly identify as Igbo. Others emphasizes distinct identities while acknowledging cultural similarities. Still, others reject the Igbo identity label altogether. These debates became far more emotionally charged after the Nigerian Civil War. And this is the event that changed everything. The crisis did not begin with Biafra. It began with political instability. We talk about of course, military coups, counter coups, ethnic tension, the Igbo pogrom that happened even before the coups and counter coups, the massacres of thousands of Eastern Nigerians, most of them Igbo, in northern Nigeria during 1966. Entire families fled back to the Eastern region. Many believed they could no longer live safely elsewhere. The Eastern region, under the leadership of Chukwuemeka Odumegwu, declared an independent republic of Biafra in May 1967. Now, Nigeria rejected that very declaration. War then began. For 30 devastating months, millions suffered as millions also were unalived. The war was not only fought on battlefields. When people hear civil war, they often imagine soldiers shooting at each other. But wars reshape ordinary lives. Children stopped going to school. Farmers abandoned their farms. Markets disappeared. Hospitals collapsed. Food becomes scarce. Entire generation grew up surrounded by fear. The Nigerian Civil War became particularly devastating because of widespread starvation, displacement, diseases, and destruction. Many civilians, not soldiers, became victims. Families lost fathers, mothers, children, and entire communities. Trauma spread far beyond front lines. Then come about the Asaba massacre. One of the most painful episodes occurred in Asaba in October 1967. After federal troops, from Nigeria entered the town, many civilians reportedly gathered, believing they would demonstrate that they were peaceful Nigerians. Instead, numerous eyewitnesses, accounts, and historical, studies describe large number of unarmed men and boys being separated from women and then were unalived. Exactly how many people died remains disputed. Different historians have produced different estimates for many families in Asaba. However, the numbers matter less than the memory. Now, almost every family has stories of fathers, brothers, uncles, or sons who never returned back home. The massacre became a symbol of deep communal trauma. It also reinforced fear throughout the region. People learned a painful lesson. Sometimes your identity alone could place you in danger. Now, this is how the trauma changed how people think about the Igbos. Trauma does not end when shooting stops. It lives inside families. Parents tell, children what happened. Grandparents whisper stories. Some refuse to talk about it at all. Every family responds differently. Some become fearlessly proud of their identity. Others become cautious. Some decide survival is more important than public identity. That is how trauma can actually influence ethnicity. Now, when identity becomes a survival strategy, imagine moving to another city after the war. Someone asks where you come from. You remember what happened during the war. You remember stories from your parents. Would you openly identify yourself? Or would you simply say, I am Rivers, I am from Delta, I am from somewhere else? Over time, children raised in those families may grow up with less attachment to an Igbo identity, even when they are holistically of Igbo lineage. Now, this is not necessarily because they hate the Igbo identity. Sometimes because their parents taught them the very, very caution. Now, the case of Ikwere, the Ikwere people of present-day Rivers State are central to many discussions about their identity. Linguistics generally agree that Ikwere language belongs to the Igboid, language family. Many cultural practices also show historical links with neighboring Igbo-speaking communities. However, many Ikwere people today strongly maintain that they are distinct ethnic nationality and not Igbo. Now, if you go to Abakaliki, for example, you will see some people speaking Iza. You will see some people speaking Izi. You see some people speaking Ivo, Ishielu, Ezambo. These are subgroups that has its origin to Igbo. That is the case when you are talking about Ikwere. But because of the impact of that very war, they needed to take the caution. Now, why are all this going on? The truth is that there is no single answer. Several factors contributed to this. You talk about political development after state creation. You talk about regional identity. You talk about competition over resources. And importantly, memories of that very civil war. That is the most important factor that actually aided this very divisive tactics. Now, during the conflict, rivers communities experienced enormous hardship. Then after the war, emphasizing a distinct rivers identity became politically and socially important for many communities to actually survive. So today, some Ikwere people proudly identify as separate from being the Igbo ethnic group. Others acknowledge historical and linguistic connection while still maintaining a distinct identity. So when you look at these things, you will know that there is no single view shared by all Ikwere people about where they belong. The impact of that very civil war is still haunting every one of them. The caution. Now, you talk about the question of the Aniomas. In Delta states, identity is also complex. Many Anioma communities speak Igbo dialects, like they bear the name, the culture, the mode of eating, the language, everything. Of course, you still see many of them saying, yes, I am proudly identified as Igbo. Others emphasizing being Anioma first. This very political division have actually made it very difficult for people to even trace their identity, their true identity. You will see some Igbo people being carved into Edo State. You will see some Igbo people being carved into Kogi State. So you can now see how history, politics, and personal experience all influence how people describe where they come from, how they describe themselves. Now, why did the identity become political? After the war ended in 1970, Nigeria adopted the slogan, "No victor, no vanquished." The intention was reconciliation that never happened. However, many survivors believe former Biafran's territories faced enormous economic hardship. One of the most discussed policies was the payment of only £20 to many former Biafrans, regardless of how much money they had in their Nigerian banks before the war. So many families never even recovered financially after these things. For some communities, distancing themselves from anything associated with Biafra seemed like a practical way to avoid a discrimination or political suspicion. That is obviously what you have today. That is why some people that are originally from Igbo ethnicity will tell you no, they are not. They are Ikweres, they are Ibibios, they are Aniomas, they are this, they are that. And that is to tell you that fear can be inherited. Psychologists call this intergenerational trauma. Children inherit stories. Sometimes they also inherit fears. A child who never experienced war can still grow up believing, don't attract attention. Don't tell everyone where you are from. Stay quiet. Those lessons become part of identity. Modern identity is complicated too. I mean, today, many people reject the idea that language alone determines ethnicity. Others believe ancestry matters most. Some prioritize culture. But when you look at these factors, they do all fall into the kind of relationship that is existing between Ikwere man, the Ibibios, the Ibanke, the Aniomas, just all of this Igbo subgroup. That is why debate over whether a particular community is really Igbo often become very emotional. So you see that identity is not determined solely by linguistics. This is to tell you that the Civil War was one of the important factors, not actually the only, but one of the important factors that actually influenced the how people identify themselves. Of course, you also talk about the influence of colonial administrative boundaries. You talk about state creation after independence. You talk about competition over political representation. You talk about economic interest, including access to oil producing resources in part of the Niger Delta. You also talk about community pride and family experiences during and after the war. So these factors together have shaped how different communities define themselves today. All these things are politically implicated. In conclusion, the Nigerian Civil War ended in January 1970. The shooting stopped. But history does not end when peace agreements are signed. Wars leave invisible scars. Those scars can influence politics, culture, or language, and even how people answer a simple question: who are you? For some people, the answer is straightforward: I am proudly Igbo. For others, it is more complicated. Communities such as Ikwere, Anioma, and others have developed diverse understanding of their identities shaped by history, politics, and of course because of the war. The civil war and tragedies such as the Asaba massacre formed part of that very story, but they do not fully explain every community's identity today. They should tell you, elaborate to you the story behind the denial of the Igbo identity. They should explain to you the caution the parents passed through their offspring about their own identity. And it is actually shaping some kind of political perception today in Nigeria. But then in all of this, you can deny about your identity, but you cannot deny that very identity in you. But within you, that Igbo blood is still running there silently. In all of this, you can lie about every other thing, but you can never deny or lie about your own identity. So my people, what do you think about this very history? What is your opinion? You can leave that respectfully in the comments, and we'll continue to discuss about stories that have actually shaped history, shaped this Nigeria and tomorrow's Nigeria. And please do not forget to share this very video. Share it as wide as possible so others could learn the reason behind the denial. So thank you for your time and thank you for watching.